The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Rev, hump day. So let's get Admiral COVID to give us the COVID numbers.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Erin, go bra.
Erin, go buy your own bra.
Exactly. COVID numbers as of yesterday is 570,638. New cases was 1,018. New deaths, total deaths is 16,355. New deaths was 16. Bristol County had 57,318. So the death numbers fluctuate a little bit. So do the new case numbers, but they're still lower than they've been.
Well, you know, it's a brave new world now after the election. Now it's no longer a everyday big newsworthy thing when you're trying to make this a political issue. Now it's just about people dying. It's kind of like what's happened in New York with Cuomo. He killed 15,000 people and 9,000 people in the nursing homes, and they did it in Pennsylvania. Now everybody doesn't care. It's all about the Me Too part because they want to push away Cuomo and what he did to the people in the nursing home. People died, people's grandmothers and mothers and family members and brothers and sisters. But that's irrelevant. It just goes to show that, you know, the taxpayer and the people are irrelevant because now they actually had the audacity to say that the only reason people are focusing on this is to try to take away from the focus on the greatness of Biden, which is like, yeah, look at the border, look at everything, but it just goes to show that our priorities are really screwed up in this country. You know, there are people who literally murdered people for political gain, manipulated numbers, and that becomes a secondary story. And I'm not saying that creating a hostile work environment and groping women, but they have due process. The fact is, we know these people died. We know that these records were tampered with. Yet that is not the primary lead story. There's something wrong with this country now, and its media. There is something radically wrong with the media. That is not the focal point of the issue with Cuomo, because the jury is not out on that. His own people said they manipulated the numbers. They hid the numbers. People died. Yet now it's the Me Too. And granted, that deserves scrutiny too. Everybody, but we always say you're entitled to due process. You're innocent until proven guilty. However, obviously, there's a lot of accusers, and there should be a complete. But then again, we're from Fall River. Matt Malone can do the same thing, and we got those bozos. Did you see the picture of those bozos all standing together, smiling?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Did you see the guy from the probation department that actually shouldn't be in the probation department? He should have a probation officer for what they told, and all the rest of them sitting there smiling on how they're going to spend the taxpayers' money ridiculously. So there's something radically wrong with priorities. And the only people that can cure that is you. Because remember, those same people that you saw in that picture smiling, who are allowing a serial predator to remain in a hostile work environment to stay in place in this day and age, will now be looking for more money for lights. And those city councilors in that picture will be approving budgets with increases in taxes, increases in fees and big increases in fees. And I got this from a very reliable source at the budget hearings. So the only recourse you have is pay attention and vote them out. Vote them out, because they do not care. Just like they don't care about the nursing home deaths. They will use the media or lack thereof. Now what happened? Malone's disappeared from the face of the earth now. Nobody's talking about him anymore. He's just going along his merry way. The Terry Sullivan rule has been applied. Keep your mouth shut. He didn't even keep his mouth shut. But just wait, and they'll go on to something else. And that's tragic. We're getting screwed again. We're going to have a baseball field that the Red Sox should come down here and play with, and in a city that people can't afford their rent. It's just a travesty.
It's ridiculous. I mean, and you know, you and I were talking before we came on the air about the Galilee pier and how much they're spending on that, and they're doing it for less than what we're doing a baseball field for. You know? Yeah.
Just remember, taxpayers of Fall River. They have a working fishing pier in Galilee, Rhode Island, which is I think the major seaport, working port. That's the New Bedford of Rhode Island. And they had a little thing on last night, and they showed the rotted metal, steel girders, the wood. Now this is in the water, and in order to completely restore this pier, and this is a commercial working pier. Now you need barges for the cranes, because the cranes are in the water, and they showed the barges, floating barges. They showed the pylons that they have to use. They have to sink those. They need underwater divers and those guys get about $500 an hour. Now they're going to restore a commercial fishing pier in the water, and with all the problems you have doing this stuff underwater and in the water, and they're doing it cheaper than Fall River is going to get a couple of fields. Because now with this new light tag, it's going to be over $7 million. And guess what? They're doing that entire pier for, I think, $6.6 million. So you think you're getting screwed, taxpayer? Where's the council asking about it? Let's see the bidding process. Let's see who's getting the job for the baseball fields. Let's get an investigation. But they just let them go. They just spend money like the old proverbial drunken sailor. But remember what Ronald Reagan said about the drunken sailor. The difference between the drunken sailor and the government is the drunken sailor is spending his own money.
You can't be wrong with that. That's for sure. I mean, there's no question about that. I think that one of the interesting things about all of this is the fact that the school committee doesn't seem to care, except for one school committee member. So two school committee members, I should say. But Kevin Agia said we have to find a way to give some relief to the city side of government. And they're not giving us any relief. They're not giving us any relief at all. And now, I mean, you see the Herald News has got a headline. There's a showdown between the city council and Matt Malone, and it could put a hold up on projects. I hope it puts a hold up on projects. I hope it makes them realize you cannot just do what you want. This is the reason why I firmly believe that Fall River needs to get together and have an underride. I'm at about $35 million, I'm thinking, for an underride. I'm willing to go to 50. And I don't care. If they want to say they're going to cut police and fire, don't buy the line of bull. Let them cut police and fire. It's a terrible thing to say, but they're not going to do it. They're not. No politician's going to do that. It's just not going to happen. They'll find other places to cut, and I can find a few right at the top, right on the 6th floor. I can find a few. So don't give me the fact that you can't find a few places to cut that aren't worthwhile. We don't manage it. We don't maintain our buildings, so that's not a cost. There's no maintaining our buildings, so there's no cost there. Although we're paying somebody almost $100,000 a year to do it, and it doesn't seem to be getting done. So again, these are jobs given to people, okay, that don't have to do anything. And almost $100,000 a year for building maintenance. And do you see any building maintenance being done? No. I see spending money on fixing the problems that the lack of maintenance has done, like the Watson School, like the Durfee High School. $263 million because they never maintained the building that was built, defective anyhow. Nobody said they didn't need a new high school. We just didn't need a debt exclusion. This is where we're at. This is the administration we have. Spend. Because remember, this administration comes from the school department. So he sees no problem with spending money for the school department. And he's willing to piss the money away, piss it right down the drain, and say, too bad, Fall River. This is what you got to pay for. Because that's what we're hearing. We're even hearing it from city councils like Brad Kilby. Oh, if it's for the kids, that we got to give it to them. No, we don't have to give it to them. We're not Newton. And for Ken Pacheco to turn around and say, oh, well, we're hoping with the lights that we'll be able to rent out the field so that it can pay for itself. It's never going to pay for itself. It's never going to pay for itself. Because there'll always be an excuse why you don't have to charge a fee. Always. Okay. Oh, well, it's for a little league team. Oh, it's for a soccer team. Oh, it's for this. Oh, it's for a city. No, that's what we have city parks for. Okay. And even they aren't being maintained properly. So again, who's doing the work? Who's watching the chicken coop? Because I'll tell you right now, the fox has already cleaned it out.
Well, yeah, you're right. The foxes have been in a hen house for a very long time. But listen, the reason this happens is very, very simple. There are no consequences for this type of action. There are no consequences. I'm tired of listening to Brad Kilby. He did this 10 years ago or 15 years ago when we built the other fields, the baseball field that floods, the football field that has had not enough maintenance to keep it. We need an entire new field. And it's for the kids. Yeah, you're right, for the kids. But you know what you do for your kids in Fall River? You drive a Chevy, not a Lexus or a Mercedes, like it is in Newton. There's absolutely no reason why we cannot get a very nice baseball field. We do not need a artificial turf, all the amenities, Newton-esque, even more than Newton-esque field. Because that is wasting money. I tell Councilor Kilby, go out and buy all your children Mercedeses. Buy yourself a nice fancy Mercedes. Maybe you can afford it. But the average person in Fall River is driving around a used car because they have to, not because they want to. Everybody would like to have a nice Mercedes parked in the driveway of their house in the North End, in front of their garage. But instead, they walk up 3 flights of stairs to their 3rd floor apartment and try to find a parking place within a block of their 3-decker. This is the reality of Fall River, Mr. Kilby. This is and city council. This is what happens in the federal government. The AOCs who went to a private school and a private college and grew up a privileged life. now pretends she grew up in a ghetto. Oh, I represent Queens, and I'm one of them. No, you're not. Kamala Harris. Private schools, private colleges, 2 PhDs for parents, affluent, and then they go to Washington and spend our money and pretend they know what it is to be poor. We got 70 or 80% of the children in Fall River on the meals program. The only good meal they do get is from the schools. It's from the taxpayer. Think about that when you're spending the money. Think about what you're doing to their parents. Think about the rents that have to go up. Think about the costs. Gas is going up because everybody wants to take care of everybody except Americans. We have children in this country that are not being nourished properly, but our government wants to give people who don't even come from this country and get in here illegally, they want to give them medical care, food, everything for free, while there are people in the United States starving. And believe me, I feel bad for them, but the fact is they have their own country and they're all leaving it because they're going to get freebies here. Freebies. It's not freebie. We're paying. We've already seen gas go up almost $1. And this is what they do. This is what government will do if you allow them to do it. This is the problem. And in Fall River, we're doing it and doing it better than even the federal government. Remember, our mayor is going to meet with his banker friends to figure out things. And you know what bankers do? They figure out, they give you a loan when you don't need it. You have to prove that you really don't need the loan. If you do, you don't get it. And they make money. And most bankers are dealing on a, not just in a very local level. You have very few local banks now. Most of these banks are multinational banks, and they don't give a damn about the average person in the United States. It's a travesty. We're getting people murdered in Chicago, all over the country. People are being murdered, and they're allowing what? MS-13. They had a couple of people on a watch terrorist list. They're pouring over the borders, and I wonder why. Well, maybe because you asked them to come. So, and this is the thing, and we have Fall River and our elected officials. Now everybody's forgotten about what these 4 people did. Matt Malone is still here. This is a disgrace. A guy that's been thrown out of virtually every place he worked, he found a home in Fall River. That speaks volumes about the way this city is run. Everybody that can't find a job finds one here, and they make a nest. And that's something that you really got to think about. You got to stop putting these people back in the seats because you know them and you know their name. I don't care what name it is. In the next election, you have to put in people who are protecting the taxpayer, who are trying to make your life a little better, not build baseball fields and use these euphemisms. Oh, it's for the kids. You're right. Listen, I love baseball. I love all sports fundamentally. But we do not need the best field in Massachusetts. We need a good field. We don't need it. We don't need to have a crown jewel in a city that's at the bottom of the economic spectrum. That is the reality. We've got to get a grip on reality here. This city is living in a delusionary world where people will again walk up and down Pleasant Street and South Main Street. It's not going to happen. We've got to get out of our other dimension and start getting real. And the only way we're ever going to get real is to clean house, apparently. And, these people have got to go.
No argument. I mean, we're seeing it happen. We're seeing 1 or 2 councilors who are representing the people and are trying to protect the taxpayer. And the problem is that you cannot be 1 or 2 councilors on a 9-person board to try to protect the taxpayer because you're always going to be outvoted. And when you get people like Brad Kilby who turn around and say, we have to spend the money because it's for the kids. No, we don't have to spend the money. Okay? That should have been included in the bond. It wasn't included in the bond. That meant you didn't need it. Don't come back now and say, oh, we need it. That's not what the people voted for. I know I voted, and I voted no, because I knew this was going to happen. You knew this was going to happen, Chip. We both said it was going to happen. We said they were going to come back for more, and that's exactly what they did. They're predictable because they do the same thing all the time, over and over and over again. It's never a new deal. It's always the same thing. It's always the same thing. Give me your checkbook because I'm going to write the checks on your account, and then you can be poor and you can, not pay your rent, not buy your food, starve to death. Don't worry about your water bill because guess what? We'll shut your water off. We don't care. We don't care. This is what this administration is saying to the people. I don't care. I don't care. All I care about is giving my schools what they want and making sure that I get the money out of your pocket. That's what he cares about. That and making photo ops going around with Orkin claws around to all the businesses in the industrial park saying, oh, look at us. We're doing so good in Fall River. We're not doing so good in Fall River. If we were doing so good in Fall River, why do we have so many homeless? Why do we have starving children? Why can't people pay their water bill? Why can't people pay their taxes? Why can't people pay their fuel bills? Just call Citizens for Citizens. They'll tell you the number of people who applied for low-income home energy assistance program, or LHIP, as they know it, has gone up, which means the amount of money available goes down because the more people that apply, the less money is available. So guess what? They're still going to have to pay for that gas, for the heat, and they can barely pay that. Just look at the bills. The people are hurting, and the $1,400 check doesn't pay it off, doesn't help pay off the bills. As a matter of fact, we just found out that the federal government's going to raise taxes to pay for those checks. So nothing comes for free, people. Nothing comes for free. So you got $1,400 short term to have it whacked off on your paychecks and everywhere else later. Nothing comes for free, people. And in Fall River, they don't know that yet. They think it all comes for free until they got to take it out of the taxpayer's pocket.
Well, we always have been, CJ, the definition of insanity, because you brought up a point. They had a bond and then they didn't include stuff. Now they want more money. Or you say no, as you said. But let's think about this. Where else do we see that virtually every year? How many times have we talked about how they vote a budget? They vote on budget, which is supposed to be for the operating expenses of all the departments in the city. And then at the next meeting after the budget, you have the water department in there asking for more money than to supplement their budget. How many times has that happened? Oh, virtually 1 million times. It always happens. Well, you know what they do in Newton? We talk about Newton, but see, they got money, but they also got brains. Those people will vote these people out. You know what they do in Newton? Look at the Newton budget. It has a synopsis of everything that's planned for that year, fiscal year. This is what they're going to do. They do not get any extra money over what was appropriated unless it's an emergency and something unforeseen. You can't go back and say, well, our budget didn't have enough money to run a department, so now give us more money. Why have a budget hearing? They do it all the time. The same thing with the football, with the athletic fields. Oh, well, we forgot to put in the lights. Well, tough. You don't play night games. We don't need a $1.8 million field. It doesn't mean you don't care for the children because you give them a Chevy rather than a Mercedes. The fact is that we do not need. You didn't give them a donkey cart. You're giving them a baseball field. Nobody's saying build a crappy field. I don't want to pay any money for crap. But let's get a grip on reality. Where are you living? Instead of walking around the North End all the time and walking down Ellsbury Street, maybe you should walk around Corky Row and a few of these other areas where people are living in 3-deckers. Take a look at the cars they got, if they have cars at all. Take a look at their life. Take a look at the federal statistics. Go on to the United States Census Bureau and see what our average income is and compare it with Newton and Wellesley. But we can do that. We can spend money. It's like living in a cardboard box so you can have a Cadillac. That doesn't make much sense if you have any degree of logic. The people in this city are hurting, have been hurting for a long time, and they need to. You need to pay attention to the average person in Fall River, not your banker friends and your other friends, because I bet you don't have a friend that's trying to live and rub two nickels together to make us rent, because you don't have those friends. But the problem is, you're like the Nancy Pelosi's and the Feinsteins and all the rich congressmen who never missed a paycheck during a pandemic, who had their health care throughout the pandemic, who got the shots out of turn because they were congressmen, who got elective medical procedures, who got their hair done, who went to the French Laundry and had dinner. And all these politicians do not live the life we live. But you know something? We may not be able to hold Feinstein, these other people's feet to the fire. But shame on the city of Fall River if you don't hold these people's feet to the fire. I think we've had enough. And Malone was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like purple bags were the straw that broke the back of Flanagan. Malone is the straw that broke Fall River's back. It's time to put people into these seats that care about the average taxpayer and average citizen of Fall River.
No argument from me, that's for sure. And you're right. Malone was the straw that broke the camel back. And I don't want to hear from the mayor, well, I recused himself, which means you're spineless. You're nutless, okay? You had no backbone. You should have stated that, because guess what? There was no financial interest to you. There was no financial interest to your brother. And had you voted on that and voted to terminate his contract, okay, he couldn't fire your brother. The way you made it sound to ethics, you made it sound like, your vote was going to change your brother's future. Well, guess what? That shows that you're there to protect your brother. Wrong. You're not here to protect your brother. You're here to protect the people of Fall River. That's what your job is. But you don't understand that. That's why you need to go. Anyone but Coogan. That's the thing going around now. Anyone but Mark Costa. Anyone but Mimi Larrabee. Anyone but Josh Hetzler. Those are the things that you got to keep saying to yourself during this election, because it's time that we have a different group of people govern us that are going to protect us.
What he's going to have to do, CJ, quickly is explain to me, and you can finish up, is he could have taken off his chairman of the school committee hat, put on his mayor's hat when they adjourned the meeting and said, as the mayor of the city of Fall River, we have a sexual harassment policy in the city of Fall River that applies to every employee, including the superintendent of schools, which they're doing with Cuomo now. There's a sexual harassment policy in New York, and say, I am now going to move to terminate him for violating the sexual harassment policy of the city of Fall River, period. And he didn't do that because, as you said, he has a problem with having the courage to step up.
No, his problem is he wants everyone to love him. He wants everyone to like him. He wants everyone to be happy with him. And that's not the way it is. Because remember what he says, if you're not happy, resign. If you're not happy, leave. That's what he says. He's even gone so far as to tell that to students in the past. And I want him to call me. I want you to call me and say, give me one student, that's all, because I've got them. I've got them already. Okay? I've got them, and you've said it. All right, with that, we're out of time. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. And remember, we won't have a show on Friday, so we'll see you on Monday. Stay safe, stay angry, wear a mask, and vote these monkeys out.